2021. A warm welcome to all of our friends, fans, community participants, squad mates, gamers and viewers worldwide on various platforms. Thank you for joining us today, and indeed a warm welcome to you all for being our very valued community members. Also want to say hello to Jerry. Jerry has not been here with us for quite some time, and actually I was quite worried because I thought something might have happened. And so good to see you here, sir. Jerry is one of our dedicated Destiny veterans from the US, and we are very happy to see you here today, sir. How are you? How are you surviving this dreadful pandemic and all that's happening worldwide and obviously in the US? Tell us a bit about it. We'll be very, very interested to hear. I talked about you quite a bit on my broadcasts, and we've had actually fewer Destiny streams of late here, as I was building a separate Warzone, Call of Duty Warzone based community, and that community really took off in very, very big fashion. We're having a short break at the moment after about 6 months of everyday activity, and we talked a lot about the differences between various communities that are present on Twitch and YouTube. And certainly I found the overall streaming community to be very much tied to a particular title, whilst I'm trying to run, certainly at present, a kind of a variety stream channel where I guess I'm trying to bring people in from various games into one arena, which indeed has been very difficult, as lots of gamers stick to their own personal favorites. And it's interesting that I did have a few Destiny veterans joining me with Apex and with Warzone, but not as many as one would expect, because you're talking about FPS games, and we thought generally that people would be quite keen, but that really is not the case, because people are keeping it really aligned with the usual, and the usual is sticking to your own gaming preference, dedicating your time to a streamer who's doing just one game, or indeed a particular game that you're doing at all times. And so a bit of a challenge, a bit of an interesting experience for myself. And Jerry's asking us, do you have the new Xbox Series X? Unfortunately, I've not been able to get it as yet, because we've had some problems with stocks in the UK. And the good news is my ISP, my mobile operator, EE, together with BT, the British Telecom in the UK, they're offering add to plan scheme. And through add to plan, what you can do is you can get the new console at the time, but obviously have it fully supplied. We can just reserve it at the moment, and then you will pay it off within 11 months in full, interest free. So that's a very, very good offer. And initially at Christmas, they're offering Xbox Series S and X with one controller, which was just on a flat price, the price like the one with retailers. And then after that, there was we couldn't actually do anything but just reserve, right? Because they said there was a problem with supplies. They didn't have many enough consoles to distribute. But then after that, they changed the packs. So they introduced extra controllers, and the price massively went up. And controllers about £70–80. So the actual raw price went up roughly by 100, which I didn't really appreciate. I've got to say, I was very keen on getting the console, well, both the X model as well as PlayStation 5 more or less straight away, but due to those logistical problems, I've just put it on the back burner. So I think the way it looks at the moment is that I'll go for the Series S first. There's several reasons for that. First of all, the Series X is a bit too taxing on my internet. I have broadband rather than fiber, and in our local area where I live in North London suburbs, we can't have fiber. And I actually had some news from the operator today, and they indicated that they're changing the laws, and it just actually transpired today that one of the reasons as to why the British Telecom, the main corporation that is also the sole owner of our network, was not doing as much as necessary for the fiber rollout, was very much to do with the Ofcom, the regulator, that was capping the pricing, and they didn't want to do the infrastructure if they're not able to adjust prices accordingly, which on one level I can understand, but on the other, if you remove the cap, then there is a danger for the owner of the network to be overcharging all the other service providers, because as the owner of the network, they're offering the services to others. So have EE and Virgin and all the other companies providing the same services, but at the same time there will be problems with how much these other providers will be charged. So because obviously if they don't have caps, they'll be charging whatever they consider to be appropriate, and that is of concern, right? Anyway, we've heard today, it's 2021, that they'll try to have a proper rollout by 2030. I mean, they said by half of the decade, more than 25-30% of the households should be able to access full fiber, because at present they're offering fiber which is not like proper fiber. They're offering fiber through copper wiring, and that is obviously of grave concern, because I had some calls from BT indicating that there's a possibility for copper wiring fiber to be introduced here, but then the upload is going to be 5 or 6, when in fact fiber should have 500-600 megabits per second upload, and that seemed a bit ludicrous. And even when I wanted to get it, they still said no, so I'm not sure what a beef is, but definitely there were some logistical problems there. And to me it sounds a bit insane to hear that in Britain we'll have full fiber accessible in about 30-40% of the properties countrywide by 2026, where full well that on the continent many countries already have fully integrated the fiber into the infrastructure, and they're obviously spearheading the effort on the digital front. You have countries like Croatia, for instance, introducing, as the first country in Europe, the digital nomad passport, right? So it's a special permit which you will get if you are a person who runs your business on the internet without any form of geographic location, and therefore you will be able to work there tax-free, which means you will be able to pay your taxes in your own home country, but they will provide you with everything, the permission to be residing in the country in order to operate as a kind of a global citizen. And that's incredible. That's just like revolutionary. That's just incredibly well conceived, and I'm sure the country, once the pandemic is fully over, will have huge benefits as a result, because you have many online entrepreneurs, particularly from the US and from some of the Northern European countries, who will find that absolutely incredible. They'll be working on Croatian Isles, and you have probably 300 islands in there, and it will be absolutely phenomenal, the best possible. You'll be able to work in fantastic conditions through the use of very high quality digital fiber internet networks, which they're fully integrated, and it will be fantastic for all those online entrepreneurs. So different countries are taking positions and perspectives on this, which in fact are varied, and I think in Britain we are, instead of going forward, we're going backward, and that's just the way it is. And there are many reasons as to why we have been stuck in a rut, where previously with our broadband services we were the world leader. Today with fiber we are, I wouldn't say at the bottom, but certainly the last time I checked was number 38 on the global scale. So you have countries like Northern European countries, Baltic republics, for instance, Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia, having fantastic internet structure. They built everything from scratch, and we are way behind. It's just, it's mind-boggling. And certainly, coming back to your question, sir, you asking about the Project X, the Series X Xbox. The difficulty there is the new consoles are requiring a much higher quality internet, and also a very, very fast speed internet. For the basic services it will work, but if you were to be doing streams, and if you're doing to like myself obviously, and if you wanted to do PvP, then the performance will be very, very poor. It'll be much worse compared to what I have here on my Xbox One X at the moment, and that is something that really concerns me. So if I can't access the ultra fast fiber to premises, then I will have to be also waiting with the application and the use of my console. So therefore I thought maybe I'll go for Xbox Series S, because it will be well, it's very similar to Xbox Series X, to be honest. They're just like minor differences, but I will be able to integrate it within my setup with ease, and also its portability, the fact it's tiny, something that will suit me at the moment if I'm to be traveling, for instance, or doing anything. And you know, there are many issues there, but I find it extraordinary that such a small device could be providing us with so many different services, and it's just, you know, mind-boggling compared to, I mean, I guess equated to what I have in my pocket, where it's Sony Xperia 5 II phone. It's a tiny phone, really very thin. You can barely see it really, and it is just like the whole big massive computer network in one. You can do anything with it, inclusive of you can make a feature film in 4K. It has the best possible camera that Sony ever produced. It's incredible. I mean, I've been using the camera a bit, and it has software and the editing kind of facility that previously you would need to pay £20,000 for, and it's just incredible. I find it, honestly, it's mind-boggling, because obviously that a mobile phone you can connect to your Sony Bravia TV and you can watch anything on the big screen, do the editing, and connect it to your keyboard, Bluetooth. You know, the possibilities are just infinite, almost sky high, and I really kind of enjoy exploring these new technological advances. So yeah, to answer if I was to answer your question, I could certainly say that I'm looking forward to Xbox Series S and PlayStation 5 eventually arriving to my home, and then hopefully I'll be able to use them also for my broadcast here. So very good to see Jerry here. Very, very excited to see that you are healthy, safe and well. I worried perhaps that you know, you were affected by the pandemic, because I know that you live in Texas, and Texas was really very badly under the pressure with the pandemic and lockdown and everything else. So very, very good to see you here today, sir. So very, very glad to see that everything is as good as it should be. And just to sort of illuminate our viewers and participants of various platforms, Jerry is our community member who indeed would sometimes get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and before going to his regular work, he would stay with us and communicate with our Destiny veterans. There is obviously a significant hour difference, because Texas is in a different time zone to us, so that would be roughly at around 1 o'clock UK time when I was doing the Destiny streams 10 to 4, and we had Jerry with us every single day, which was absolutely truly wonderful. And I'm certainly hoping that Jerry is enjoying all the inclusions and additions to Destiny 2 and the new structure that Bungie proposed. I'm not that hot on the vaulting and the absence of some of the content. Got to say, I was building a hunter in the sequel, and the experience was somewhat confusing, and also not particularly enlightened by some of the seasonal content, which felt a bit repetitive. But we are due to go back to Destiny shortly. The Guardian game season started, I think, a couple of days ago on Tuesday. In Britain, be Tuesday night or Wednesday, yesterday. And you know, there's lots of different games to catch up with. We have seasons in Apex. We have today, in fact, PUBG is starting out with their 40th anniversary. Then we have the new season and new activities in Destiny. So the list just goes on and on. We also had inclusions with Warzone and Season 2, and you know, so there's lots of grinds everywhere because we want to get good loot. We had the Outbreak season in Call of Duty Warzone with zombie infestation, and you know, so the list just goes on and on. Loads of games, little time, and I think I'm trying to dedicate as much time as possible to quite a number, and I want indeed for everyone to be brought in. You know, if there is a novelty here on my channel, then certainly you would spot that I'm running now my daily podcast. It's a new entity here on the channel, and the daily podcast is here to provide all of our community members with space and time and an opportunity, first of all, to get to know all about the news, all that's happening in the industry, all that's happening within the streamers community, as well as with the community of viewers and our participants here on the channel. And in addition to that, it's also providing you a forum where we can have interviews, live online chats, discussions, reviews, you know, and This is the first week of my daily podcast, so it's still shaping up with its structure and format. I think generally I would say that the podcast will last between 60 and 120 minutes. I think maybe 60 to 90 minutes on average, particularly at times if we are having participants where we are interviewing or discussing various issues. But at present we're just trying to really get the structure together. And the structure is as follows. We start out first of all with either the questions coming from our community members, which is what we did do during the last couple of days, and then it's followed up by just a rundown on all the news and everything that's happening in the industry. So that basically is the idea, and then later we can have an open forum for free discussions on whatever really pops up. And as you know, we had plenty of discussions this week on Macbeth, in other words, Microsoft Bethesda merger. And we had community members tweeting us and sending us messages indicating, well, to tell us all about their feelings and thoughts in respect of this a very, very big development. And it was great to really go through the list and discuss all the possibilities, opportunities, our expectations, and the benefits, perhaps even some things which were not seen as very positive, right, when it came to the full independence of studios like Bethesda and the future of their games, that sort of thing. But anyway, so that's the idea, and this is exactly what we're going to be doing. Once again, thank you so much, Jerry, for popping in saying hello. I really thought about you quite a lot of late because we've not seen you for almost a year, and I think last time we spoke was at the beginning of last year before the pandemic. So very, very glad to see that all is good now that your health is safe and well, and we want absolutely for all of our community members to be exactly like that, in quarantine, fully protected, and adhering to social distancing rules everywhere as much as possible. And we wish for that to be exactly the same for everyone else, all other people who are not in our gaming community. I hope will be adhering to the rules and making sure that they'll find the means to which this dreadful pandemic could be survived, because eventually there'll be an end to the pandemic, but unfortunately we do not have it in our sights yet. Right, we started out with Jerry and our friends really popping in and saying hello, which is truly wonderful, and very, very grateful to Jerry for coming in and reminding us of his community membership and the fact that indeed he is still playing Destiny and still enjoying all the content, and asking us a few things about the podcast, about my health in fact, and asking us also about whether we are already streaming off the new Xbox console. Sadly that's not the case, but it will happen in due course. Right, so lots of different news today. Lots of different news. I think one of the biggest news I want to introduce to you is coming from PlayStation. We talked a lot about Xbox for the obvious reasons, but PlayStation is catching up with some of the Microsoft developments. The first big thing I noticed is the enhancement of the PS app. And the PlayStation app's been very good, and I would say superior to Xbox for quite some time. But that's been kind of neutralized of late because Xbox invested a lot of human resources and revenue in the development of two separate apps. One is specifically to do with your Xbox account, your membership, and all that you do on your console. The other is the subscription one based on Xbox Game Pass. And when you look at these two apps, they really work perfectly. They're really incredible and state-of-the-art. They can be used as your remote control. You can be accessing the content which is on your console. You can be instantly clicking the games to be downloaded, and they will be downloaded remotely to your console. As you know, you do not need your Xbox console to be switched on when the downloads are indeed processed. All the updates and everything can happen overnight, and they are indeed going through your charger. So the console is switched off. You are using your app on the Android phone in order to access controls. You can do so many different things. It's really state of the art. It's incredible, inclusive of the latest, which I've not tried. Obviously, I don't need it, as I do not have children. But parental controls, and they really spent a lot of time trying to make sure that children were not having access to the content which is considered to be 18 plus or non-family friendly. It's very difficult. In view of the fact that YouTube and Twitch can be accessed on various platforms with ease without any age restrictions. And but still they want to comply with the law and with the with the certification of certain games. So I've listened to the interviews and podcasts on Xbox. It's available on their YouTube channel, and they're describing the new app and all that can be easily used and applied. And everyone needs to look at that. If you are an Xbox user and if you have a family with children, well, you need to really set this up properly, because you'll make sure, first of all, your children are not spending too much time on certain games, and they can also do homework, and you will be also making sure that you know exactly what type of content they're accessing. That's very important. I think this is where parental control and guidance will be fundamental, and we've had lots of discussions here on my channel of late, particularly with my Warzone community, about what constitutes a so-called family-friendly channel, because lots of the guys who are watching the streamers who are ranked as mature do not realize that Twitch does have separate rules applied to the type of content you're providing, and once you're subscribing to Twitch, you're obviously subscribing to these rules. And I think I wouldn't say many, some people in our community were not keen on this, because they felt that mature games should have that freedom to express whatever you wanted, as long as it wasn't racist, defamatory, or illegal in some way. And I had to really make sure everybody knew that there are rules both given to us by Twitch, and also separated that there are my channel rules, which I'm enforcing through my moderators, and if people don't comply, then it's immediate ban. It's just as simple as that. Everyone accessing the channel will have the rules on the chat as they're about to type a message, and they also have the rules stated on the channel information. So everyone who's entering the channel by clicking on chat is actually entering that contract between myself, Twitch, and indeed themselves as the service users. So coming back to Xbox, definitely a very, very good invention, a very, very good app, and I highly recommend it to everyone who has children and who indeed wants to be making sure that the children are doing the right thing, doing the homework, not spending too much time on certain games, and indeed being prevented from accessing 18+ content. So today we'll start up with PlayStation, and the reason for that is simple. PlayStation, in addition to the improvement of the app, have also introduced a new event, and this event is called Play at Home, and we were given I think 1 or 2 games for this during the last 8 months, and they realized that Xbox is providing lots of freebies through Xbox Live Gold services, and also we are getting many games through the Game Pass. So they decided to expand on Play at Home, and they will be giving some of the heavyweights to everyone who is prepared to download these games within a certain period, and I'll read a bit about that straight away in order to introduce you. I think anyone who is on PlayStation needs to remember that when you get notifications through your email or elsewhere, you really need to make sure you immediately get these games. Whether you're going to play them or not at a later date is completely irrelevant. You want to show your interest to the developer and the publisher, and most importantly to Sony as corporation, that you're supporting their effort and you're supporting the direction that offers you the most expensive, the most prodigious AAA blockbuster games for nothing. And I collected quite a number during the last 3 or 4 years, and having an add-on, because we get our games through PS Plus services, we get a couple, sometimes even 3 games for free every month, and presently it is 2 games for PlayStation 4, 1 game for PlayStation 5, and sometimes an extra game for PlayStation VR. So anyone who is not at the moment in possession of PlayStation 5 console can very easily click on PS5 game and keep that game in their online library. It's fundamental that you do that, because you have probably a presumption as you do not have your PS4, therefore you cannot claim the game. That's not the case, right? That is not the case. You can claim the game immediately for free. It will stay in your account, and then once you are in possession of the next-gen console, namely PS5, you are going to be able to play it immediately, right? So do not forget about this. Do not ignore the game which is given to you as a PS5 title, assuming that it cannot be claimed, because it can be claimed, and you need to be claiming it, and make sure that you do claim it. So these are the things which are very important, and I really want to stress that to everyone, as I personally assumed exactly that. And obviously, you know that I read the news every single day. I'm inundated with information coming in on the wire from all ends, from everywhere, and they stress that I think it was Eurogamer and Push Square, that anybody who is indeed still on PlayStation 4, and that constitutes probably 90% of the users in the UK, can claim PlayStation 5 games which are offered through PS Plus services. So don't forget about them, don't ignore them, and don't miss out on them, because I have one community member who is a very, very avid PlayStation user, and is subscribed to all the services there, and he always forgets to claim. I mean, and I remember talking to him a few times, and he said, "Oh, no, I forgot to claim this." Well, you've got to remember it. As soon as you get the message, an email that comes in every single month saying the new game's up, click on get and get the games, and you come back to them 2, 3, 10, 15, 25 months later, but do have them in a library. They're not going to be cluttering the space. It's not like extra physical copies where there's going to be no space in your room or pantry or garage for. Make sure it's all there, and we have thousands of games, and there's always that extra bit of room for another. But I understand the concern, because at one stage, prior to the invention of DVDs, I was recording lots of things on VHS tapes, and due to my extremely hectic day schedule at the time, I was not having any time at all to watch anything during the day, and then sometimes I work nights, and therefore the television series like X-Files or Homicide, Life on the Streets, or all the series of the 90s, Twin Peaks, I couldn't watch them live, and if I wasn't home, they'd be gone, because we didn't have that degree of distribution at the time like we have today with online streaming services and YouTube and everything else. So the only other option was purchasing videotapes and then recording this and programming it, which generally worked, and they would record the whole series, so lots of films, and the list goes on, went on and on. So eventually what we had was, we had the lengthy corridor in our Victorian house, and I made just like a couple of shelves, and then from 2 they grew to 4, and then to 6, to 8, and it just became the entire corridor full of videotapes. And frequently it'd be difficult to watch everything that was recorded, and I think with digital downloads and all that we have today through Amazon, Netflix, live streaming services, and also direct purchases. Obviously on Disney Plus, on Amazon, you can purchase films which will stay there forever in your account. You can easily amass a huge number of titles, and certainly I amassed a huge number of games since I joined the online communities on Xbox and PlayStation. And I talked earlier in the week quite a bit about the beauty of being able to try out a new game as it's offered on Xbox Game Pass, and then loving it, and then purchasing it. The best example is the game called Bomber Crew. It's a game that probably would have not noticed otherwise, because it does have Lego style graphics, and it looks a bit like the old gen type of game, and they offered it through free Playday services on Xbox a few months ago. I loved it. It was a wonderful flying game with a bomber crew, and it did require a lot of thinking and tactics and strategies and everything, and it's just really amazing. So for instance, yesterday I noticed that the game was offered on a price of £1.20, huge discount, 95% discount, otherwise the game would have been costing I think about £15-17. Without a slightest hint of doubt, I just purchased it immediately. And that's the way it works, which means you tried it for free on the live streaming services, you noticed it, you remembered it, then you waited for the price to drop, and then you purchased it. And this is how the whole system works. I think I looked it up, and it's about 575 games at present, and that doesn't really include quite a few games I still have on my 360 and original that not been loaded through my Xbox One, and they're not re-registered as yet properly. But we were talking about very, very many games, and the list just grows on. Don't forget, we are getting lots of alphas and betas, lots of demos, so the number of titles just grows and grows and grows and grows, and it's just wonderful that similar to what I had when I was a child, I'd go to libraries all the time, and I was very, it was like a bookworm. I loved reading, and I spent most of my childhood either in libraries or cinemas. And I'd go to the library sometime early in the day, and yeah, spend 3 or 4 hours just reading comic strips and magazines, and sometimes I would read books. So I'd go to children's library, pick up a book, find myself a seat, and I would just read a book and read it cover to cover. There weren't just picture books. There was Dickens. There was, all other kinds of books for children, the old fables, the tales, and you name it. And I remembered coming to a library. In fact, I went to one of those recently. Not been there for 40 years or so. And when you're a child, you come to a library. It looks massive. You're small, and the shelves are tall, and there are loads of books in there. And just like, the perception is, I'm small, and the knowledge is big, and it's massive, and I really want to embrace the knowledge. I want to read all the books, right? I'll start with A, end with Z. I'll read everything that's there. So basically, that's exactly what I was doing. The same thing today is present on our digital library services, and that really goes across all platforms, be it with video gaming or films and television series, or indeed if you were like myself to be using the digital services offered by public libraries that offer an enormous amount of literature and materials. And they include, for instance, I have I'll tell you a bit later about this. It's called just a second, I need to tell you exactly what it's called. Unfortunately, I can't access it right now, so I'll tell you a bit later. I have access to London Libraries Consortium, right? So this is on RB Hub, which is an app that you download, and the RB app is basically, is it RB or RD? It's RB Digital, right? So this is the app that gives you access to magazines and books through the hub, and London Libraries Consortium is basically comprising all the magazines and everything that various libraries are subscribed to, and they get these magazines on regular weekly or monthly basis. When you look at the list, it is almost infinite. Every single magazine that's published in Britain is on that list, and all of these magazines you can literally read for free as you download them to your device. It's extraordinary. For instance, if you're a gamer, you will have 3 magazines which really are very prominent and incredibly important for your online gaming activity. First and foremost, the oldest one is PC Gamer, and it's a top-notch magazine with very high quality writers, and you get all the information, state of the art, delivered in there. They operate together with their online presence, the hub, on the internet, and the magazine still provides you with extra information and detail that perhaps sometimes is not always visible on the net, and you can sometimes purchase and download online, etc. Anyway, PC Gamer is one of them. Xbox Official Magazine is the other, and then PlayStation Magazine as well. So 3 of these. All of those are accessible to these services, so I don't have to anymore be waiting for my new copy to be bought from WH Smith's every single month, because I can access them, maybe not on the same day, I think it's about a week or 2 weeks later, but I can access them for free and have the entire library digitally sorted in there, which I can access at any time wherever I am. So think about it. The old magazines you will need to stash in a bag and walk around with them. In here, you've got stacks of magazines going back about 5 or 6 years since they started. Well, I don't think they started the services 6 years ago, but they've just basically backdated the titles, and the service is phenomenal, and you can have all of that in your pocket. Think about it, on your mobile phone. It's preferable you read magazines on tablets because of the size. It's easier. I prefer my Samsung tablet, and I kind of list. I sort of look at the pages and keep flicking them, and it's much easier to get into the articles, because obviously a larger size, letters and everything else, and obviously you can expand if need be. I find it a bit difficult to read some of the magazines on my phone. It's alright for newspapers, but for the magazines, I don't have the same sort of visual experience. And so compare the old style libraries when I went there as a child to read all the books, still go to libraries today, and then your digital online libraries, right? So it means infinite number of titles is stashed online, and you can access them at will wherever you are. So think about it. Why wouldn't you want to be downloading a game which is out there offered to you for free? It's just, it's no bother. Just click and get, and have it in your digital online library forever. Some people complained that if they are to be doing this all the time, they will be amassing several thousand titles. Well, that's true, but you have your search, and you have your categories, and you have your dates, and you can find everything with ease. There's nothing better for me than just accessing my online library and then flicking through all the titles. And you say, oh, I bought that then. Oh yeah, I remember. Oh no, I've not really played this yet. I've not seen that before. It's still there. And you go back in time, you remind yourself a little. It's extraordinary. It is the quantity, but also it's the ease of use. I think as somebody who's been using the services from the very beginning, I can tell you the search engines were not particularly good at that time, and it was more difficult to find certain titles. But today, with categories, with dates, with the search filters, there's no problem. And you can even, with some of the apps, select and create new subgroups, and therefore you'll be able to find everything with ease. So my lists are going to be growing, and my time as a gamer has been greatly enhanced, and became a lot more entertaining and enjoyable, a lot more diverse, and there are so many different titles that I want to try. For instance, yesterday I discovered there were 1 or 2 games that were offered for free, that absolutely for free, through Xbox Live Gold, I think it was, or was it one of the discounted deal schemes. And I go through the whole list every week. On Tuesday we have reset, and then I look at it usually on Wednesday or Thursday and make sure that the new titles that I'm interested in are placed on my wish list, and that's exactly the same for Xbox and for PlayStation. And I'm not doing any more on Steam because of the it's time consuming, and I'm not really doing any PC gaming at the moment, but I was doing this previously on Steam as well. And Steam is having another competitor, which is Epic Games, and there's another store in there, and I've just heard today that they will be also introducing a new system through which people are going to have their own messenger, their own audio and video calls if they want to hook up. So like inbuilt Facebook for Epic Store, which is going to be fantastic, really great, like the on Discord, and people are coming up with all different inventions, and we are looking at whatever is needed and necessary and novel, and providing us with a greater connectivity. So that's obviously what we are all after. So going back to the libraries and the digital downloads, make sure that you download everything when it is offered to you by Sony or Microsoft. And quite frankly, if you don't want to play it, you can hide it, and still will stay in your library, and you will have also the facilities through which you can organize the games accordingly. So if you like playing RPGs, put all the RPGs together, doing FPS, separate section, easy to find. And obviously if you stay with the service for 10 years, you'll have lots of different games, and you'll be offered many new titles on everyday basis, as we've seen recently with Xbox. I'm not really in favor of sticking to one platform. I think that is something that belongs to the distant past, and I know that people are quite territorial and they want to be sticking to just like one means of gaming or streaming. I think the near future will kill it, because accessing xCloud services and providing us with those, giving us the opportunity to come in at any time wherever we are, is going to be changing the nature of the industry, and it will enhance the connectivity. If you're a PC streamer, you'll be able to get people from Stadia and from consoles popping in, talking to you, communicating with video hookups and messages, and that will be truly, truly astonishing. So we go back to the news. I started out telling you all about Play at Home, I think, is the event that PlayStation is indeed developing, and the news today are that Sony is feeling generous and is giving away another batch of free games, and they include the one of the best games they ever created, Horizon Zero Dawn, Subnautica, and The Witness. So these are 3 games that will come our way within the next couple of months. So obviously Horizon Zero Dawn is the biggie, and developer Guerrilla Games' open world adventure, which sees Outcast and Hunter Aloy embarking on a journey across a sumptuous future version of Earth, will be free to add to your library from 19th of April. Well, to be frank, I am not particularly fussed because I purchased the game on a great discount in its premium top-notch gold or ultimate edition with all DLCs, and very eagerly anticipating the release of the sequel, which will, I believe, get released at some point this year. We've seen trailers on State of Play and also watched the developer diaries, all looking absolutely phenomenal. And for all of you who are not familiar, God of War and indeed Horizon Zero Dawn are the very best games that the corporation had to offer, and everyone needs to download them if they're offered for free. So this is a no-brainer. So remember this, just grab your pen and jot this in your diary. 19th of April, so it's the 19th of April this year. If you're on PlayStation, you can claim for free Horizon Zero Dawn, right? And I'm not sure whether it's going to be the basic or the ultimate edition, but it will be there on the 19th of April. So, oh, there we are. Stand corrected. More specifically, players can get their hands on Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition, which includes sizable wintry expansion, the Frozen Wilds, and interested parties have until 14th of May to claim the free copy. So it's going to be the top edition, and you will have almost 1 month. Is it 1 month? 14th? No, 19th. Yeah, it's almost 28 days to claim it. To claim the free copy. So that's far from the end of it. So starting on 25th of March, PlayStation owners will be able to add 9 additional games to their collection for free, and it's a uniformly excellent selection. I need to stress that a number of these games indeed would have come in through PlayStation Now as well. So I did play quite a few of these on PS Now services, not in full, just tried them, had a look. And it's wonderful to see that some of the games that are perhaps maybe not receiving enough publicity are going to be offered for free, and therefore they'll be attracting many more consumers and customers. So we have Abzu, which is the gorgeous underwater adventure from the Partler studio Giant Squid, and then we have the other given to us by developer Dodgeball's bullet hell dungeon crawler called Enter the Gungeon. Enter the Gungeon is presently also available on Xbox Cloud and on Xbox Game Pass services. So if you are wanting to do something as you're waiting for a bus or going up to your park, you can do also Enter the Gungeon on Xbox on Xbox Game Pass, and you pull out your phone, get to the xCloud games, and simply access it straight away. And it's also available on controller-free setup. You do not need your controller in order to play the game. So you have touch screen, on-screen display with the controllers, and you can just crack on. I've had a look today at Spiritfarer that's introducing here on the channel. Want to see the way it performed on Android on xCloud services, and it just works perfectly. The only thing is, as I have a lot of dialogue, the dialogue's tiny, so for me it's a bit hard to read. But in terms of its performance, it's absolutely top notch. It's basically a game that was released on Switch, so performs really well. I think the games like Destiny and Gears will require the fastest possible fiber optic Wi-Fi in order to work properly. But for simpler, linear games like this one, like Spiritfarer, we are going to be getting indeed the the very best connection. We'll just have a look at something else. Just bear with me. I'm curious to see whether we are having anyone else there. Okay, and the Enter the Gungeon is the other one, and then we have Res Infinite, which is giving us spectacular remaster of legendary designer Tetsuya Mizoguchi psychedelic rhythm section action classic. Well, Res Infinite I've not played, so I'm very excited, very curious to see what the game is going to be like. I'll download it on the day and indeed enjoy it. Subnautica is also offered, and it provides us with more opportunity to dive to the watery depths, this time for some superb and surprisingly scary survival action. I've played it a bit on Xbox, and it's definitely a very good game. Next on the freebie list are Jonathan Blow's acclaimed island exploration puzzler The Witness. So that's a nightmarish rhythm action oddity thumper, and another world designer Eric Charkey's mesmerizing ecosystem sim, Paper Beast. So the Witness Thumper and Paper Beast are not really very well-known games, but you know, coupled with Subnautica and Horizon Zero Dawn, indeed they will make a very, very nice PlayStation 4 collection. So Res Infinite Thumper and Paper Beast include optional PlayStation VR support. So if you are a fan of Oculus and VR, absolutely pop in, have a look, and make sure that you're enjoying them in full. I've not really tried VRs at all, and one of our community members recently told us that he was experimenting with Oculus and PSVR set, I think, as he played one of the Resident Evil games, and he did say it was very, very scary, and he felt a bit funny afterwards, which I think is probably the collateral of that technology not being as advanced as they would want it to be as yet. So we've got to still wait a bit. It's similar to what we had with 3D in cinemas, but I think the industry is in two minds about it. Initially they thought it was going to be the next big thing, but I've not seen any major takeoffs on VR, and Sony is pursuing it, and Microsoft's completely disinterested because they feel that VR will be having a similar sort of fate to what we've had with 3D in cinemas of the last decades, and I tend to agree. I think up to a point where we still do not have the sufficient technology, these are just experiments, but once we get this technology where it will be proper holographic 3D, where we can be completely alive in that environment and see everything you know, very close to what we see around us in real life, then it's going to be a different story. But on the other hand, you think, well, hang on, do you want to play Warzone in there, or some of these beastly you know, zombie fest types of games? I mean, personally, I probably wouldn't, but some people will enjoy it, and I think that sort of activity could have a very serious, perhaps even detrimental effect on somebody's mind, as it will feel very scary and indeed truly real. So so these are the games that you can collect before the 25th of March. Hang on a minute. Resident Infinite Thumper and Paper Beast include optional PlayStation VR support for those with a headset to hand, and Sony completes the collection of freebies on 25th of March with two titles specifically designed for VR: celebrated platformer Astrobot Rescue Mission and adorable mouse-themed action-adventure Moss. Okay, so these are the titles specifically designed for VR. All of the above, excluding Horizon Zero Dawn, are free to download until 22nd of April. Okay, so basically we still have to, well, I need to keep an eye out as well, together with everyone else. So that's the big news. Just remember then, play at home event, and they're giving us, how many did we say? 9 titles. 9 titles plus Horizon Zero Dawn, so it's 10 altogether. Well, they are very, very generous indeed, so that's really very good news for everyone. And right, so let's have a look at the rest of the news. So that's the big news coming from PlayStation, and they said Games Radar certainly that thanks to PlayStation stay-at-home event, lots of people will find it much easier to stay at home, or indeed more difficult to leave and to do anything else. And I think there is always a danger if you're looking at some of those wonderful big open world games, and we've gone down the route of Fallout 3 in order to support and celebrate Macbeth Festival, or the merger of well, the acquisition of Bethesda by Microsoft. And you know, Fallout 3 is that sort of game. It's never ending, with a huge amount of activity and hidden corners of that Fallout universe, and the best possible guide for all that Bethesda offer. And if you are into it, you know, you could just play it on and on. But the beauty of Fallout, and I have to say some other games like Skyrim and maybe Dragon Age and Mass Effect, is the games are not particularly addictive. they don't have the element that you're being grabbed and you need to be doing it again and again, which in fact is very different with some of the other activities in online games. And I always find it very easy to detach from whatever I'm doing. And what I like about it is you got clearly defined quests and side missions, and you can always walk away from one of them. So once you completed it, that's the time where you're going to walk away. You come back on another day, and it's really a great way of doing your games. I've got to say, it's not really my bag, the elements of repetition or want to do more and more, as we experience in PvP gaming, like Warzone, Apex and Destiny, one section of Destiny. That's not really my kind of thing. Well, I like those games, but I need to do more, yet another, and then you just carries on and on. You've got to be really disciplined and very, very focused on how you're going to be doing PvP gaming, because like any other sportsman out there in the field, or anybody doing sports, you've got to have clear boundaries on what you can and you can be doing, and also most importantly, if you want to be doing it competitively in order to get scores, you need to define at what time you are going to be in your zone, right? So you'll be gaming in the zone, right? So it's very important. Gaming in the zone is critical, because gaming in the zone will mean 3 to 4 hours where you're at the top of your abilities, we can get the best scores, and that's it, right? So half an hour, 2 hours beforehand, you're not in the zone, and maybe an hour after that, you're already, flat out with tiredness and everything else. But you want to be gaming in the zone in order to make sure that your performance, your results, your entertainment, your enjoyment is always at its very best. It's critical. So the best esports players will tell you, we game in the zone for about 3 to 4 hours, and that's exactly where we get the best results, and that's it. And they will be adhering to the routine of people like Ronaldo or Messi, or the top sports people, where they will have a regular system of maintenance every single day with regular training. They'll eat certain types of food, they'll exercise, they'll get fit, they'll have good night's sleep in order to deliver the performance at the top of their abilities. So think about it. If you're a guy who plays a game all night long because you want to chase scores, then you feel haggard the whole day. You never manage to complete all of your other tasks which are outside of the gaming universe. What sort of example are you giving to others? Are you actually performing to the best of your abilities? Are you gaming in the zone? Are you going to get anywhere? The answer is no, because you're doing it the wrong way. That's not as to why the games were created. It may be that some developers quite relish on the monetary side of things, people who are spending the nights and days just hammering it 24/7, but that's not the way it should be, and that's not the way as to why we are promoting ethical gaming, as to why we are involved in the streams of Warzone and competitive games within family-friendly forums. If you're one of these guys, then please do not come to my channel. Simple as that. I mean, everyone's welcome. This is all-inclusive channel and an audience that appreciates a variety of different content, but we do not want somebody to be reeking of that degree of toxic content where we all have to push and do it quickly and chase the scores and then get another and get another. Well, no, that's absolutely not the way we want to do it here, and I think that degree of toxicity is certainly highly contagious, and like any kind of disease, we want to absolutely make sure that we prevent it from spreading. So we'll have a look at what's happening with Xbox news and what came to us on the wire. And you probably would have seen that there are quite a lot of new games coming to Xbox. First of all, I feel that they're really doing things similar to Bungie a few years back. Bungie on Destiny 2 Year 2. From first year, where we had hardly any content in Destiny, the Year 2 was giving us too many things to do. It was like, the extra content was coming in abundance. We didn't really know what to get on with first or next or last, whatever. It was just too difficult. And at the moment, I feel a bit oversaturated with so many titles coming into Xbox Game Pass within a very short period of time. And don't forget, they launched a new console on the 10th of November of last year, and they lost the game that was to be promoting the console on the release day, Halo Infinite, because the game wasn't finished, and they felt, well, having another Anthem or Fallout 76 mishap was definitely not needed and not desired at that point. So they've gone down the route of new console being tied to Xbox Game Pass. right? So it's easy digital downloads, instant purchases, instant access, regular monthly subscription, loads of titles, and accessible through all platforms. So that's the direction they've taken within a 5-year plan. And certainly of late we've had 20 extra games added last week through Bethesda, and games like Doom and Dishonored and Fallout and Elder Scrolls series, Wolfenstein, all of them are now accessible for instant access, right? So that's on console, as well as some of them are also accessible through xCloud, and I think a few are also downloadable to PC. Not all of them at the moment, but in the near future it's going to be absolutely tip-top with all 3 of these services instantly available. So 20 games coming in last week, and then we already heard during the last couple of days that many more are coming, and they include, for instance, the game that I'm most excited about, Outriders. We played it here, introduced it through DRBMiller introducing, and the game does just very similar to Anthem and Mass Effect, not really produced by BioWare or anyone affiliated, and it just felt great. I mean, I loved the game, and it had some incredible battle sequences, a really good story. It just felt like my kind of game. I'm very excited about it, and then to hear earlier this week on Monday that the game is coming to Xbox Game Pass on the day of its release, and it's not the Xbox exclusive type of game, right? It's released on all platforms, is phenomenal because they'll break all records. Outriders on Xbox Game Pass will be just absolutely topping it, and irrespective of really bad reviews they received on the demo and all that's come out during the first couple of days of its release, it was obvious that the gaming community just embraced the game 100%, and this is the best possible decision that the developer could have taken, as well as Microsoft, and I'm really looking forward to it. So to hear on Monday that we'll be able to play Outriders on Xbox on the day of its release is incredible. It's just one of the best news of the year. And then already on Tuesday we heard that Undertale, one of the very popular indie titles but seen as a cult classic, has also been released on Xbox, previously just accessible on PC. So yeah, another cult classic coming in, and it's accessible on cloud, console and PC, the full Monty. And for Outriders we'll have cloud and console, so I think for Outriders, similar to Destiny, we will need a controller in order to play the game. And then we heard Yakuza 6 coming to cloud, console and PC. Then we heard Narita Boy cloud, console and PC. And then most importantly, a game I really want to play for some time, which is Empire of Sin, also on cloud, console and PC. And then listen to this. Star Wars Squadrons, the game I introduced here a few weeks ago, was offered to us through free play, is also coming to Xbox Game Pass. So, what am I to play first? Outriders, Undertale, Yakuza 6, Empire of Sin or Squadrons? That's too many games. But that's not bad, because we will find enough time to play these games in due course. But we have got to have, first of all, a system to which we'll be doing diligently and on regular basis gameplay and campaigns in each one of them. So make sure that you have a system, not that you just start at one game, hop to another and then just forget all about it. That's not the way to do it. You've got to be completing the game from the beginning to end, and need to support the developer and the publisher through doing so. I personally always feel having many more titles on offer is better than having hardly any. I lived through the times where I wanted to see a favorite film in cinema, and I couldn't because there were no prints, and we had to wait for days, months, years, decades for these prints to arrive, if ever. That's gone. Everything is more or less accessible today instantly, and sometimes you have to pay for it, but this is the future. This is the way things are today. There's no longer the need for the prints to be coming from 20th Century Fox Studios in the US, in California, to a small European country like Luxembourg or San Marino, just waiting infinitely for these prints to arrive. And you got 2 or 3 prints and something wrong with them, you couldn't really screen them. It's just out of the window. It's just gone. And it's good it's gone, because we can access these films and titles instantly, and that's really the same with video games as well. So the next one, Octopath Traveler, console and PC. Genesis Noir, again, console and PC. Nier Automata, downloadable to PC. Torchlight 3, downloadable to PC. Deadfire, which I believe is Pillars of Eternity. Is it Pillars of Eternity? Hang on. I think it is. And that's the Ultimate Edition. And then Supraland, also downloadable to PC. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 games in addition to 20. That's 36 games arriving to Game Pass presently, and it's just absolutely extraordinary. So they said pull up your what to play next list and start reprioritizing the games you want to play, because we've got a bunch of great new choices for you. Be a traveler, a pilot, a gangster, or even the occasional flower. You've got lots to choose from, so let's just jump in. So we've heard Undertale, so that's falling into Underworld and exploring a hilarious and heartwarming world of dangerous monsters. You can date a skeleton, dance with a robot, cook with a fish woman, and destroy everyone where they stand. So very, very popular game, and previously just accessible on PC, now coming to Xbox. Empire of Sin, a strategy game based in the 1920s Prohibition era Chicago underworld. Step into the wing-tipped shoes of real and fictional gangsters like Al Capone, Stephanie Sinclair, and then you can build and manage a criminal empire. So the game looks incredible. I watched the developer diaries. It's a mixture of turn-based strategy with RPG, and the atmosphere is very much like LA Noire or any of the other, you know, remarkable noir types of games out there. So really, really mouth-watering, and very, very excited to see it there. I didn't really purchase it because I thought it was still too expensive. Well, definitely for myself. But you know, I'm a person who is not sponsored by any company. I don't have any deals with developers or publishers, which means every game I play, I will need to pay for, either through the regular purchases or through my subscription to their streaming services. There's no other way. And I've never received a single game for free from anyone, and you know, evidently I'm always very meticulous with my planning, and certainly the streaming services and those offered on subscription have revolutionized my gaming and my life altogether. So really very, very grateful, and more inclined towards the Game Pass services, because everything can be downloaded, and if so, we can obviously stream it through Twitch. So Empire of Sin is the other. Neo Automata, humanity is being driven from Earth by mechanical beings from another world in a final effort to take back the planet. The human resistance sends a force of android soldiers to destroy the invaders. Yeah, you'll remember it. It's beautiful graphics and a lot of action. Squadron, Star Wars, the New Republic fights for freedom. The Empire demands order. The Galactic Civil War is a tipping point in a time where ace pilots on both sides could make all the difference. Master the art of starfighter combat in Star Wars Squadrons. Well, Star Wars Squadrons is a very interesting part of that franchise or the series, where one section reminds me of X-Wing and TIE Fighters and the old games of the 90s, you know, the usual, the retro-looking space combat types of games. But the other section, which is cutscenes and dialogue, are very similar to what we had with the latest Star Wars installments. So really, really very, very interesting concept, and I can certainly tell you I really enjoyed the flights and all the sequences there, which I had a few weeks ago. I think it was last month, or was it in January, that it was offered also during the free play days, and thoroughly enjoyed it. Really highly recommend to everyone. Can't wait for that to be fully released on Game Pass. So Torchlight 3, and that is a very interesting game, and Nova Strea is again under threat of invasion, and it's up to you to defend against the Netherrim and its allies. Gather your wits and brave the frontier to find fame, glory, and new adventure. Genesis Noir, a noir adventure spanning time and space when a love triangle between cosmic beings becomes a bitter confrontation. You'll witness a gunshot fired by a jealous god, otherwise known as the Big Bang. So that looks like an interesting game. I mean, I've seen it several times, not played it, not really looked at the demos. Curious, anything which is within the niche noir area is of interest to me. Octopath Traveler, well, lots of people are excited about Octopath, and Square Enix game, and previously released on Switch, I think. So 8 travelers, 8 adventures, 8 roles to play, embark on an epic journey across a vast and wondrous world of Ostera, and discover the captivating stories of each of the 8 travelers. Sounds very good. It's a proper RPG. Pillars of Eternity 2, Dead Fire, We all love Pillars of Eternity, a wonderful, wonderful game, and you'll be able to bend the world to your will as you explore the depths of infinite possibilities, including detailed character customization, total freedom of exploration, etc., etc. Supraland, then Yakuza 6, Song of Life. Kazuma Kiryu, the Dragon of Dejima, returns with the dream of living a quiet life, but soon he discovers Haruka has been in an accident and is now in coma, leaving her young son Haruto without care. So to protect his child, Kiryu takes Haruto to the last place Haruka was spotted, on Amichi, Hiroshima. Why are the Tojo clan and Yome alliance both after Haruto? So it's a big, big story. And I've got to say that Yakuza has been... I mean, I played one of them. I think it was Yakuza Like a Dragon, and really liked it. But Jeff Rubinstein from Xbox has been talking about Yakuza now for months and months, and he really drew my attention to the series, and I will be both playing it and streaming it here, because I think from the description this is the best possible merger of RPG story-driven content with fighting and action sequences. Very, very curious as well how this was developed and released within that noirish kind of Tokyo environment, and many installments. They recently released Yakuza Trilogy Remastered also on Xbox Game Pass, so we can all just click, download, and then crack on with some of that activity. I think probably would like to build a bit of a Yakuza community here, because I'm a great fan of the games which are kind of based on, you know, crime stories and hardball fiction, and perhaps we can get some people from Far East. Maybe we'll have some new community members coming from Japan or from Asia overall, Taiwan, China, I'm not sure, any other country, Singapore, and perhaps a bit share some of their gaming experiences with us, because we know in Southeast Asia Xbox is non-existent and it's all about PlayStation, and there are lots of titles in there that we've never seen over here, and some of these are featured on PS Now services. I'd be very interested to have somebody who's a veteran of Japanese games, or indeed some of the titles that are very popular out there, and then to kind of bring us to fore, give us some information, provide us with some illumination on what their video gaming experiences generally in Japan and surrounding countries really are like. I think quite different to us, because video gaming there is taken very seriously and with huge respect, and seen as an activity with massive potential, and hence the research that PlayStation invested in you know, the gamers. I think they've done tests for about 20 years, I think, must be 25 years even, with some people who were playing games literally from the day one when the original console was released, and the stats were being produced by people from the medical community. So that's very, very interesting, and certainly an area that I'm very, very excited about, and I want to get more data and more information on all of that as well. Narita Boy, then Outriders. Well, we've heard Outriders is bringing intense action and deep role playing to Xbox Game Pass, developed by People Can Fly, veterans of the shooter genre. Outriders presents a journey of survival across a savage planet, which can be tackled in both single player and 1 to 3 player co-op. Well, very similar to Destiny in that respect, and we are going to be squadding up with some of our mates wanting to do some interstellar battles. So let's see, we have a lot. Hang on here. Loads of new DLCs. For instance, we are getting DLCs for Minecraft, which is Uniqlo Skin Pack Volume 2. We are getting an extra one for Sea of Thieves, 3rd anniversary event. 3 years have gone already. I played it during its first year, I remember. The Outer Worlds, Murder on Eridanus. Well, I'm interested about that. I watched trailers for that DLC, and one of the characters, the famous Halicon Helen, she gets murdered, and then it's like a detective story unraveling. The Outer Worlds I played at Infogamer, which I attended a few years ago, 2 years ago in fact to be precise, 2019 it was, and I played it on a massive big screen and liked it. It turned out to be, I guess, similar to Borderlands and Fallout to a degree, but with a greater kind of in-depth story-based content, I guess resemblant of Obsidian and Bethesda games like Fallout Las Vegas, for instance. and the graphics were, I guess, in tune with Borderlands, maybe more than any other game. So very interested to see how they stepped up and what other DLC story-driven missions they introduced. And I need to try it as well. I mean, obviously it is a proprietary game to Microsoft, considering Obsidian are part of the Microsoft group, but I need to download it and have a look at it. Really, I have just the time, you know. There's loads of different games to play, and I'm a completionist. I don't like doing adventure and story-driven games flimsily. I want to do them back to back, basically make sure that we complete everything, and it takes a bit of time, and it takes time to get to certain games, right? So like our friend yesterday, he sent us a message saying, Microsoft, that's all fantastic, but can you please invent a tool through which we can extend time so we can play all the games? We have a lot more time. And that was really hilarious. It's a bit like one of our friends saying, hurry up Friday, you're too late. And she was saying that on Monday. So Xbox Game Pass Ultimate perks, we are getting Dock Bite set for Rainbow Six Siege and Legend of War pack for World of Tanks. All of these are offered, and also you are getting the weapons charm for Apex Legends, and that's imported from Mass Effect, and that is celebrating Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I claimed it yesterday, and I will try to use it on mine, so that's really fantastic. And I just reminded of the fact that I'm playing and streaming Apex on PlayStation rather than Xbox. But nevertheless, if you are doing Apex on Xbox, you have got to claim that Normandy 7 charm, and then you can use the charm on your favorite weapons like R99 Volt or Mastiff, or any other. Make sure Spitfire in my case, and make sure it's dangling in there, it's nicely displayed, and everyone can notice it. You'll be also promoting Normandy 7, which is the ship from Mass Effect, and you'll be supporting BioWare and their re-release of the trilogy on Legendary Edition. So the other thing that people do on Xbox, which is definitely interesting and of benefit to everyone who is a completionist and a collector, is doing the regular Xbox Game Pass quests. And the quests are many, and sometimes they're really quite grindy, but they will help you tremendously if you want to claim your number of Microsoft Rewards points for the subscription. So I've used them twice already. I accrued about 12,000 of these Microsoft Rewards points, and then I applied them, and therefore was given 1 month of the Ultimate subscription free of charge, which meant I had access to all the games for nothing. And due to my consistent gaming and collection of the points, obviously, over a period of time, and you are then saving, well, in Britain I think $10.99, which is the regular monthly subscription to the Ultimate. But the benefits you get are just extraordinary. But I worked out, in fact, that I spend more on the Ultimate to previously I would have spent on games, and it doesn't really matter, because I've never been buying brand new games. I always bought them in second-hand shops like CX. And I worked out that the $10.99 month, that works out something like, let me see, 120, and that's 120, 12, but roughly 130. It is about £130 a year, right? Roughly. And if I was buying games in CX, I'd be buying them previously for me £3 to £4, maybe buy 2 or 3 games per week. So if we're looking at, let's say, £15 to £20. And then 4 of these in a month, we'd be talking probably £80 maximum that I would have spent on some of the games. And presently I'm investing a bit more, which is about £130, right? So it's interesting how the mindset works, because it's a bit like me talking to my friends who are cooking my dinner every single day, and I told them during the last year I invested £1,450 in your business. I pay £5 every day for a meal, but it's every day and just a cruise. And people don't really think like that. They just it's not very expensive. This means better if we charge them £10. But then you're not going to have the person coming every day. You will earn a lot less. So it's human psychology, I guess, and it's the way you kind of work things out in your mind, and it's regularity of that custom, and it's the regular investment. It doesn't matter what the investment is. How to become a millionaire. Ask people to support you with £1, get a world community of 1 million to send you that £1, and you will become a millionaire. But you need to invent something really useful for them to invest that £1, whatever that is. And I'm certainly hoping that my channel here one day will be able to attract people to invest or donate £1, people who are watching it, because if you pay £1, you're supporting, it's nominal, it is symbolic, but it's the numbers. If one person invests £1, I'll get like £1 donation. If 100, it'll be £100. Get several thousand, like 5,000. Already have £5,000 in donations, and I worked on various fundraising campaigns for charities, and I can tell you quite a lot, maybe some other time, on the experiences I've had, both face to face when collecting with cans and tins, and also doing it digitally and doing it all sorts of ways. It's a very interesting sort of activity, but it's all down to human psychology and mindset. I remember once doing it with a charity at Paddington Station in London, and there was one colleague of mine who was just filling those tins all the time, just bringing in tin after tin, all full with £1 coins, and couldn't really work out what he did, but all of us, the rest of us, hardly had any money from anyone, but he was just like filling it all up, which told you he was doing something right. He had something about him that's attracting attention, and indeed getting all of those charitable donations. So it's the same sort of thing when you do it online. Anyway, I digressed a bit. I'll go back to our Game Pass quests. So we have Plants vs Zombies, Garden Warfare, 200 points. It's pretty good. Vanquish 3 zombies or 3 plants, and then Dragon Age Inquisition, 200 points. Don't forget that sometimes when you are doing your login with your app, which is Xbox Game Pass, you get 5 points. But if you're grinding these, you're getting 200 points. So 10 of these, it's 2,000 points. And 6 times 200 points is 12,000. Therefore, you can claim your ultimate subscription for free. But it's down to you. You can grind, and they also have Microsoft Awards app, which is giving you some extra activities, getting you a few points here and there. 5 here if you watch a video, 10 in there if you are subscribing to something, 15 here and there, and therefore they will be accruing. I think it's not a fastball type of game. It'll take a little while, but if you're consistent, if you're keeping tabs on regular quests and the points that you're getting, you'll get there. Also, it's very important to remember that not all games are on the Game Pass forever. They are there on a time-limited basis, and we have several games disappearing. Hyperdot, Journey to the Savage Planet. This is a very good game, and I played a bit of it. I've not been able to finish it. No time, but sad to see it's disappearing. On the other hand, I've got it on PlayStation Now services, and it's there permanently, so can migrate there and carry on. And then we have Machinarium as well. So it's Hyperdot, Journey to the Savage Planets, and Machinarium. All of them are leaving on March the 31st. So this is a very, very lengthy list of games, and really very much of interest to us all. So you've seen Xbox and Dwayne Johnson bring ZOA energy to gamers. So let's see what that happens. What that is. Two entertainment titans are partnering together once again, Xbox and Dwayne Johnson, and this time Johnson brought company. In a video today, he introduced the Healthy Warrior energy drink. ZOA is Zoe energy, which is available for purchase in the US. So he is supporting obviously everything that Xbox does. He's been partnered with the corporation already for quite some time. The exciting news for all of us who are loving and enjoying free play days, and I'm definitely one of these guys. Every week I download something. This week we downloaded Stellaris, which is also an Xbox Game Pass. We introduced it to our community through our regular DRBMiller introducing session, and it's very important you always download these games. So this week we are getting 2 of the real heavyweights. We are getting Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, and we are getting Dirt 5. So something for everyone. Siege is basically a multiplayer tactical military simulation game, still well played, probably somewhere within range of Warzone playability and popularity, but it's more difficult. It requires a lot more knowledge and skill, a lot more polishing, and almost certainly always a regular squad fully on board. And then we have Dirt 5, which is a driving game. So in this weekend's free play days, Xbox Live Gold and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members can conquer off road tracks across the globe or squad up and breach into explosive action. Dirt 5 is available to play from Thursday, March the 18th at 12 o'clock midday Pacific until Sunday, March 21st at 12 o'clock Pacific. So that's really shorter than usual. And then you can celebrate Rainbow Six Siege and its 6th-year release with an extended stay from Thursday, March the 18th, that's today, until Wednesday, March 24th. So that's like the whole week. And I think maybe we'll do it actually. We've been doing a bit of Rainbow Six Siege. We've not streamed it at all, and we can probably tie it in with our activities in Warzone, PUBG, and all the other, like Apex and all the other shooters. So that'd be a good idea, and maybe we introduce it somewhat to our viewers here, because I remember I've had one or two people from our Warzone community asking whether I played Rainbow Six Siege. I know Sekapupu did, and he was asking me whether I wanted to join him sometime. So maybe we'll do it together. We'll see. So remember this: the Dirt 5 is accessible for 3 days, so that's from Thursday to Sunday, and you can obviously drive the cars and do all sorts of nice things in there, and highly recommend it. Very, very enjoyable, beautiful graphics, a lot of action, a lot of activities. And then if you are looking at the Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, you have the whole week, and that's in view of its year 6 release. And today, in fact, we are celebrating the 4th year anniversary of PUBG, and we'll do some PUBG shortly when I finish this podcast. There'll be a lot of loot, a lot of cosmetics and things to claim, so this is what we want to do. And remember that. So basically you just need to download these games. You can download them straight away today. I think the times on Xbox free play days are aligned, so you should be able to, let me see, that is, what is it, 12 o'clock AM, yeah, so that's probably up to 6 o'clock PM, and you'll be able to download, and you can also get them on a greatly discounted price. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege is offered on several editions. So we have Deluxe Edition 75% off, $9.99, then 55% off, $35.99, and then Ultimate Edition, which includes all the seasons and all the DLCs and additional content and cosmetics, is 45% off, $54.99. And then Dirt is not offered on any discounts at present. It is offered on the standard edition, costing $59.99, which I'm really surprised about, because I thought, well, maybe they'll offer a discount in due course, but usually what happens is the game offered through free play will be giving you a discount as the free play ends for another week. So it'll be kicking off from Sunday, on a Monday usually, and then ending on the following Tuesday. And I purchased quite a number already. For instance, one of the games I purchased like that was Kingdom Come Deliverance, and I purchased it in Royal Edition. The price was maybe £10-11 or something, very, very, very little compared to the volume of the game, and the original price was about £75, $75. Okay, so we know all about these games. Don't need to tell you a bit more. And then we have composer Ryo Yamazaki creating musical happiness to Balan Wonderworld. So that's great. Let me see what he's doing. Producing probably a new soundtrack or something. Oh, he actually writes an article. So Ryo Yamazaki says, well, I'm sure you might have heard snippets of the soundtrack already. Today I'll let you know a little more about some of the unique inspirations and challenges that I faced when composing the musical happiness to Balan Wonderworld. So he tells you all about it. Anyway, if you want to become more knowledgeable, just go to the Xbox Wire and you get all the information there. There's several postings. The other big news that we are all interested in is the news related to EA Play, right? So EA Play is coming to PC for Xbox Game Pass members starting tomorrow. Well, we know full well that all the titles were introduced a couple of months ago. Not a couple of months ago. It was on the 10th, wasn't it? It was after the launch of the new console, and all of them are accessible to console full stop straight away. But from today, they're also going to be accessible on PCs. So you'll be able to just use the app and everything else to get the game. So since teaming up with Electronic Arts, we've been working to provide Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and PC members an EA Play membership at no additional cost. Right? So that's two different things. We want to thank the PC community for your patience over the past few months as we work to deliver the better Xbox app experience for EA Play. So we're excited to share with you that starting today, which is March the 18th at 2 o'clock p.m. So that's not happened yet. It's about 10 o'clock at night today here in the UK. Xbox Game Pass PC and Ultimate members will be able to enjoy all the benefits of EA Play on Windows 10. So more than 60 games. They include Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, FIFA 20, Titanfall 2, Need for Speed, etc. Rewards each month for your favorite EA games. March rewards include Gold Team Fantasy MUT packs and EA Play Celebration pack on Madden, N7 Weapon Charm for Apex. And then starting on day one of EA Play on PC with Xbox Game Pass, members can play the new to play list titles like, for instance, Star Wars Squadrons on PC and console. And then exclusive in-game challenges and rewards, special member-only content, and discounts on EA digital purchases. Well, that's similar to what we have on the free play days. Once you are entering the arena, you are, as a member, going to be getting some discounts. Access to trials of games for up to 10 hours from best loved franchises. To get started with your EA Play membership, just download the EA desktop app, EA's next generation PC platform that's currently in open beta, and sign into your EA account to create a new one. So that's all great. So that's a new addition to it. And then the Xbox app will walk you through the setup process when you're downloading your first EA game. Well, I've enjoyed absolutely some of it. The Mass Effect trilogy is certainly one of my personal favorites, but we'll have here on the channel, in addition to Mass Effect, also Dragon Age. All of the Dragon Age games are accessible through EA Play via the Ultimate, and then the other games like Alice, for instance, is a really great game, and Mass Effect Andromeda. Then we have, the list just goes on, Battlefield series. There's really great stuff, and lots of sports games if you're into that. Right, so I think that's probably, there's the one more, and that's Age of Empires, I think. Hang on, where is it? Age of Empires fan preview broadcast coming April the 10th. Okay, so that's a little while away from us still. What can we expect? Fans can expect to see the first gameplay and civilizations from Age of Empires 4. And this is the latest PC game developed by Relic Entertainment and World's Edge for Xbox Game Studios. So that's great. Fan preview, that's going to be 9 AM PT Pacific time on April the 10th. So that is about 5 o'clock PM UK time. And then they'll be hosting it on ageofempires.com, Twitch, Facebook Live, and Xbox YouTube channel. And Bilibili for Xbox fans in China. Very good. Looking forward to that. There's a bit of news in here. Officially welcoming Bethesda team. Let me just see. Yeah, we talked about it already, so I'm not gonna go through this. It's all about Bethesda, and then we have Outriders coming to Xbox Game Pass on day one. So let me see what is said, and we'll wrap it up, I think, with this. We all got a taste of Outriders with the recent demo. I'm so thrilled to announce that Outriders will be available on console and Android phones and tablets via Xbox Cloud Gaming, and also with Xbox Game Pass on day one, starting April the 1st. So this is not an April Fool's joke. This is absolutely solid. Xbox Game Pass for console and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. So it is going to be accessible through xCloud, PC, and console. And we can all jump into this true genre hybrid from Square Enix, which combines brutal combat with deep RPG systems. Outriders is set in the distant future, where players attempt to colonize a planet that they believe to be a new home for humanity. Turns out the planet doesn't want them there. So mysterious storm called the Anomaly burnt out all the tech that's more advanced than a light bulb, hyper-evolved the wildlife into ferocious monsters, and then colonization efforts broke down into a bitter war of attrition for the last remaining resources available to humanity. So you're an Outrider, reawakened from cryostasis 30 years after the first landing on Enoch, this is the distant planet, emerging as an altered, a being with access to powerful skills and healing abilities, which you picked up from one of those creatures out there, or entities, and now you can get to flex these skills on the ever-ranging battlefield. Create and customize your own Outrider, use the devastating array of abilities to annihilate your enemy as you embark on the journey to discover the source of a mysterious signal on a dangerous and untamed world. You can play single-player co-op with up to 2 friends as you combine the skill and speed in a frenetic attempt to survive a savage future in this aggressive third-person perspective RPG shooter. Do not forget, it's fully cross-play. Explore Enoch with any of your friends on any platform. Well, this is probably the best possible news because I'm very excited about Outriders. We had Outriders here on DRBMiller introducing. I played it for 2 weeks, and I played it both on PlayStation as well as on Xbox. And I think on Xbox I completed everything, and on PlayStation there are still things to do. We'll probably pop in before 1st of April, some next week, maybe 2 or 3 times, in order to polish off some of the activities, maybe to get in someone else from our community to join us, just to try and see how the multiplayer works on PlayStation. It didn't really perform too well on Xbox, I've got to admit. I had a lot of rubber banding, and I think it was probably to do with the fact that Xbox does have some issues with its Twitch streaming app. So if you're streaming a game that is geared for next gen, then you will get a lot of lag, and you know, there's latency and all sorts, and that's exactly what's causing the problems. So one way or the other, you are looking at a game that we are very, very excited about. It's very similar in its construct to Mass Effect and Anthem, and I'm absolutely in awe of these types of games. You will know that Destiny certainly has been here the main game for many years, and you know, we have a similar sort of concept, non-linear. I think actually Outriders is more of a linear storytelling compared to Destiny, but it'll be a nice addition to our package of space operas. That's certainly what I believe, and if you are a fantastic fan of Star Wars franchise, you'll be able to capitalize on these new additions, like for instance Squadrons to the Ultimate, and then Outriders over there together with everything else. And I forgot to say that Anthem also is accessible instantly through Xbox Game Pass. So if you want to compare, you can download Mass Effect, you can download Anthem, and then Outriders. Presently, obviously, to demo, you can compare and find it for yourself, and decide on which one amongst these you like the very best. Okay, so I think that's pretty much all we have on the news front. I just want to see whether there was anything else on my Twitter. Just bear with me. Well, we have Push Square yet again being negative about Outriders. I want to see what is said. It's really annoying because I read some of the articles previously, just slating the game all the time for some reason. They said good old Outriders, a PlayStation 5 and PS4 shooter that we did not like when we played the demo. Resident looter shooter Boffin Robert Ramsey suggested the release is in for a rough launch when it deploys on 1st of April. As far as PlayStation platforms go, how does a non-existent launch sound? After strong rumors over the weekend, an increasingly aggressive Microsoft has scooped. You know, they're really. I have to say they're really very biased, and this is not really a nice way of talking about new releases. Aggressive Microsoft scooped the third-person outing for its Game Pass service. Utter nonsense. We all appreciate it. You know, I'm a dedicated PlayStation veteran, together with my gaming experience of Xbox. I don't have personal preferences. I'm just always adjusting to what is on offer. And at one stage, PlayStation streaming services were spearheading the effort, and you've gone behind. You've gone far behind, and Microsoft is having a lot more muscle now. In all of that, we are getting the best games released immediately for the platform, and therefore we enjoy it. So they said here that that's been confirmed. To our knowledge, this is the first time the team of Green has netted a day one third-party release, although there may be other examples. No, there are not actually other examples. This is the first game in probably in the line of many that will follow, because this is the new policy that Microsoft have, and with the acquisition of Bethesda, they were looking at many top-notch titles being released, perhaps not indefinitely, for a time-limited period, but they will be released on that day. So if you play Outriders for the first 4 weeks and then it disappears from the platform, it will be enhancing its playability. It will be definitely bringing in many more participants into the arena through the platform. And then if you have not finished it, or if you thoroughly enjoyed it, there comes the last date, which will be advertised, and then you can buy it, and you can buy it on a discounted rate. So that's the thinking behind it. So what you're saying there in Push Square is utter nonsense, right? It's possible that initially people not buy Outriders on PlayStation for the reason which is more than blatantly obvious. You will want to try it for 4 weeks, or for whatever the period of the game's presence on the platform is going to be, because you want to first of all find out for yourself whether you like it or not, and if you do like it, you'll buy it. It's it's just plain logic, and I think PlayStation is lagging behind in the effort. So they said, whatever the case, the PlayStation version commanding £60 or $59.99, this title looks like impressively bad value on Sony's system right now. Is there anyone out there still planning on purchasing it at full price? It's just nonsense. That's nonsense. I think I'll probably stop reading Push Square if they carry on with such nonsensical comments and views. And I was shocked to discover that Eurogamer were doing something similar. Gaming is about gamers. And if you're biased towards a particular developer, your magazine and your hub is going to be crashing. And I'm afraid that's been the case now in recent months, and certainly in the last couple of years. I've read articles on some hubs which were raising eyebrows because they were not correct. They were not based on fact. They were, trying to be more inclined towards one developer and trying to ruin a new title that was published by the competitor. It's just ridiculous. It's just utterly unacceptable. We want to be independent and open-minded. We want to support the best games. We want to criticize those that appear to be a fluke. If you're offered a game that's offered one thing and then later discovered to be doing something else, i.e. not providing it, then you'll criticize it. But Outriders is nothing like that. I mean, you described the game as being the old-gen game, poorly written, terrible screenwriting, awful dialogue, and hardly any activity. Well, what game did you play? I mean, that's not Outriders that I played on PlayStation and Xbox. I played probably 120 hours combined, 2 or 3 hours on average per day. So what's the idea? I don't get it. You want to ruin the game? You'll fail, because people already embraced it and loved it. And they loved the idea that all the achievements and the inventory and everything that you reached within the demo will be imported to the main game. It looks terrific. The only thing I have of concern is its capability for multiplayer and whether it is going to be performing as expected. But don't forget, if they're releasing it through Microsoft, they probably have beefed up the servers and everything else through Microsoft in order to make sure that everything would work. And you've seen and heard how, for instance, the technicians of Microsoft in recent times were able to be increasing the frame rate from 30 to 120 for the next-gen games, and for the old games that are being played on next-gen consoles. So they obviously have the tech. Jason Ronald talked about this several times on Xbox podcasts, and I've listened to his interviews, and he's more than convincing. And it just seems to be plain logic that you've gone to the firm that's going to really provide better maintenance and will provide you with a better technical backup should something backfire. And they do not want to have Cyberpunk 2077 type of scenario. They want things to be working properly. And I think initially the feeling was that perhaps the game still had to be polished somewhat, but let's wait and see. So what else do we have there? I think that's about it. That's right. We'll wrap it up with the news this front. I had a couple of messages coming in since yesterday, and I want to thank some of our friends. Really great to see that our friends indeed are always listening to the podcast on various platforms, perhaps even on playback. And the question was, where do you get all of your comics and graphic novels at present, where everything is closed? And this was coming from Josie. She is in Birmingham. Thank you, Josie, for your question, and thank you for your very kind praise and your kind words, really, in respect of what we do here. This is only episode 4 of my podcast, but I'm very delighted to see that people are listening to it on various platforms and supporting it. Well, this is a true community-based forum, and obviously, as a new entity, initially we'll have a few viewers and listeners, but in due course there'll be participants and people sending us messages and communicating live online and doing everything else, because this is a forum where we want to get to know first of all about the news coming both from the industry and from our community, from other streamers, and then we want to be kept abreast with what other people are doing. What games that they're playing, what's the day been like, what's going on at that. That's basically the bottom line. So it will be a combination of all of these factors joined together. Coming back to the question of Josie was asking about where do we get our graphic novels. Well, WH Smith's is open, so if you want to purchase them brand new, you can obviously get them. The kind of policy or the practice I've had of late, and that goes back maybe a couple of years, was that I combine my acquisition of graphic novels through my local library, which does have very many of them, I have to say. It's a very, very large quantity of graphic novels, and it's a very good selection. They have a combination of European and American comics and graphic novels in the album format, so you get everything within one piece. So I'm not really collecting the old style issues from week to week where it's to be continued every single time, and therefore you need to look at the overall completion of all the issues to read a graphic novel. So thankfully I don't have to do that anymore, and so I would get some from my local library, and then I would read them, return them back. But the majority, certainly in recent times and since the times of the lockdown, have been through the RB digital services, and I'm a member of 2 separate libraries. One is in Hertfordshire, the other one is in London, and therefore I can access quite a variety, and I'm a member of London Libraries Consortium. So I want to stress this: everyone who is in London, right, if you're a member of any of the libraries, you can access London Libraries Consortium online through RB and Libby, and that will give you unbelievable access to graphic novels, books and magazines and audiobooks and everything else. And they have presently more than 600 or 700 graphic novels instantly accessible, which means it's for free. You need to be a member of a library, of course, and need to be registered and subscribed. You don't need to pay any revenue for the subscription. And then what you'll do is you will borrow that graphic novel by clicking on borrowing. You'll be downloaded to your app, and then you can just simply read it. Best read on tablets, larger screen, or you can download it to your phone and connect it to your TV set. My TV is 60-inch and have a massive big display of a magazine, and you can just flick through the pages and read everything, and that's just it's a wonderful experience. And the benefit of it is I can access both magazines and graphic novels in a very large quantity. I don't have a worry that something will disappear from the shelves, because I just don't happen to have enough time to go to my local WH Smiths, or indeed if there's an interesting issue released, then lots of people will buy it, and therefore they'll run out for the stock. And so basically what I do is I go to my local library and get some of the copies, physical copies. I still like reading. I much prefer reading physical copies than reading online, I have to admit. It's just my own personal preference. But the quantity of titles that are otherwise not available in physical copies is certainly substituted by the access on RB Digital and Libby. So Libby is the new service they introduced. So it's RB Digital and Libby that you need to download to your Android, be it a tablet or phone, and then if you are a member of one of the libraries, you join a London Libraries Consortium, and there's so many different titles you can borrow, and anything from European comics to manga and Japanese, through the old style sort of James Bond and Rip Kirby, the Dick Tracy type of strips, basically, which were released in tabloids, the 50s and 60s, to the US, Marvel and DC. So this is what I do. And I talked yesterday, previously, I did have, I lived in Notting Hill, so I had one of the best shops in Britain, called Comics, Books and Video Exchange. Comics and Books Exchange, in fact, they're part of that mini chain of tape and video exchange shops based in Notting Hill. These shops have been there since the mid-70s, and they had loads of comics, graphic novels. And what's brilliant is that they had loads of these through the old issues, the ones which you couldn't get anywhere. And if they were delivered in very large quantity, there was no space for them in the shop, so you get them for 10 pence or 5 pence even. I remember buying there stacks of Marvel and DC, and there was a full series. I got Doc Savage, the full series, 10 pence each. Conan the Barbarian, the full series, 10 pence each. I bought, this is quite a selection. I need to really look at the catalogue, but it made really my everyday kind of activity in the local area very much worthwhile. It was my favorite archaeology. Got it every day, got every day, and very near to where I lived, and still there. Notting Hill is still full of writers and journalists and people from the arts communities, and they bring in lots of stuff they do not need. Many books circulate through there. The original, pre-publisher releases. We call it, what are they called? Pre-release copies, right? And you get people who are reviewing books getting them in very large quantities. So they just look at it, read it. They don't want to keep the book. They're not particularly keen on it, and they just leave it in there. So it was a very, very good way through which you can obviously get some collectible books as well, in addition to comic strips. And the collection there is quite incredible, and always enjoyed going to the shop. And not been there for a while. I said it yesterday. I need to investigate whether it's still there and whether everything is as it should be. And they had, there was, if I'm not mistaken, there was ground floor and basement, and then you can just, basement was full of bargains. Ground floor had still some more expensive books, but overall the price ranges were very, very acceptable. And if the book was there for a little while, the price would be reduced, the usual. And the best way of doing it was to be popping in frequently, because you can see the same books being reduced, and there was a demand for certain types of publications. But overall, things that I was interested in, like hard-boiled crime novels, modern history, kind of military stroke strategic type of literature, and graphic novels, film books as well, in very large quantity. I bought quite a few in there, and the very basis of my very large library initially were indeed acquired from there. And then later I went to book auctions. Book auctions gave me an opportunity to purchase a very large quantity on a very, very low price, about 10-15 boxes of books, like loads of books in there for £10. And I think it's likely that some of those are offered today even on lower prices, because the value of books overall has gone downhill compared to maybe 20 years ago, and there are many reasons as to why that is. But coming back to graphic novels, you will want to be probably popping in, if you're interested in newer titles, to Forbidden Planet. It's a shop in London that again, I need to double check whether it's still there, because I've not, since I've gone to North London suburbs and Hertfordshire, I've not been going there as frequently as before, and therefore some shops might have changed addresses. And I've been to CX, for instance, in Tottenham Court Road, on Tottenham Court Road, and they've been there from the very beginning. The whole CS franchise indeed was built from there, and still there, and still the same old shop. Obviously new staff members and everything, but anyway, it's a long story, because I used to go to Computer Exchange, which was based in Notting Hill next to Gate Cinema, and the guys from that shop who worked for that mini chain basically departed from the shop and basically built their own venture, Computer Exchange, based on Tottenham Court Road, and then from there they just grew the business. And initially there were a few shops, part of the same chain. They grew it as franchise, and As you know, CX is the most popular shop in Britain for anything which is software related, and also they sell a lot of hardware, but software is very cheap. So if you want to collect DVDs or Xbox or PlayStation or PC games, well, that's the place where you want to be, and you get them in huge quantity. The most popular shop for generally exchanging software, and even in my local area, which is a relatively small town, they have huge traffic, loads of people bringing in DVDs and games and videos at all times, in so much they have no space, you know. And sometimes they said we simply can't take things in because we're overstocked and not that many people are buying DVDs anymore. So yeah, so back to Josie, that's exactly what I recommend to everyone. Being able to access some of the titles digitally through RB Digital. London Libraries Consortium is the best possible place for you to access such material. Very many titles, and as I said, downloadable to your tablet or phone instantly. As we are still living in lockdown and we are not sure when the lockdown is to end, we don't see really that bright light at the end of the tunnel as yet. We need to be resorting to digital downloads and digital acquisitions. So Josie, if you are, for instance, keen on let's say hard-boiled crime fiction, or if you're interested in classical literature, you can also go to the online services of Libby and then download some of the books in audio format. In fact, I watched The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo in its Swedish format with Noomi Rapace as Lisbeth Salander, and then I watched the newer one with Rooney Mara and Daniel Craig, made by David Fincher, and I read all three books even before I watched the original Swedish series, and then I listened to the audiobook recently. You know, says that it's the whole strategy, the whole series of activities that are all interconnected. It was very interesting that every single time when I've gone to one of the entities, one of the medias, I had a different experience of the story, because my film in my head when I read the trilogy was different to the one I experienced when I watched the Swedish television series, and later turned into, you know, 3 separate films. And then when I listened to the book, you know, it's just done with actors. Again, I had a very, very different experience. So one way or the other, this is the future, and if you were asking what is going to be the very best way through which we are going to access lots of graphic novels, well, that is going to be the way. You have apps, and you can subscribe to them, which means you need to pay $1, and then they will be offering you instant access if you're purchasing individual comics. That's really a model that will be outdated and outflanked in no time. Services like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and then what we've seen here with Game Pass and PS Now services, they're spearheading the effort. We are paying the overall subscription, and then the corporation is acquiring all the titles, and you can get them on that subscription price. So that is the future, and I'm still waiting for some of these to be created. Don't forget, graphic novels had been seen as an investment, and therefore they are still quite expensive. I think if you want to buy some of these albums, they will cost you quite a lot, and that's one of the reasons why I was gone to a comic book and, you know, tape exchange. It was called Book and Comic Stream. I can't remember. Book Exchange, Comics and Book Exchange, or Books and Comic Exchange. I think that's the shop I talked about, based on Pembridge Road, Notting Hill, and I've always gone to them for the last 30 years, in fact, in order to get them second hand. So I bought editions of, you know, Giroud with what's his name, Blueberry, and I bought Corbyn's albums. I bought quite a selection of British 2000 AD comics. There was, let me think, Storm, Don Lawrence, Dan Dare, the original from Eagle. Bought Trigon Empire. Don Lawrence is my personal favorite. Carl the Viking. The list just goes on, you know. But in order to get really good stock, you had to be popping in on the regular basis. You had to be either living locally or coming in from other parts of London in order to see what came in every single day. So it's similar to what I have in charity shops. It's all dependent on what people bring in. But if you're a regular over an extended period of time, then you can be collecting lots of these treasures. And I certainly loved my time in Notting Hill, and if there were possibilities and opportunities, then I certainly would have stayed in there. Probably my favorite part of central London, Notting Hill. It's very diverse and buzzing, with energy, with activity, with stuff that goes on down the Portobello Road at the markets. And we used to have on Friday afternoons always cakes galore event. We used to go to Portuguese patisseries at the end of Goulburn Road. Would get lots of cakes, then share them with our friends and associates, and it's the usual kind of activity we really treasured. I loved it. It was great, and certainly have many wonderful and fond memories of that era. In fact, I watched Basil Dearden's film recently that took place in Notting Hill of the early 60s, and it just seemed very similar to a degree. Well, not really to do with the subject that the film was raising, which I feel was very much present in the early 60s and not in the late 80s or the early 90s when I lived there. But the environment looked the same. The buildings and the market, some of the shops, pubs, and the usual kind of places of interest for people to socialise, all there still today. Right, my friends, we've come to the end of our podcast, and thank you for watching, and thank you for listening to all of my musings, ramblings, comments, views, community interactions, and all I said. If you have any views, any ideas, any suggestions, if you want anything to be voted on, send us a message here through Twitch or by email, Twitter, any other forum. Hit us up with your thoughts, opinions, views, feelings, whatever you want to say. Always appreciated. And I want to thank still everyone who already did so far this week. And we've had Johan, we had Frank, we've had Hans, we had Josie, we had Jonathan. We had quite a number of people who have been our regular viewers of the channel over the last 3 years and who contributed. Usually we get it from the regulars first and people who are, participating here with some of our activities. But I think I had also 2 or 3 messages from people who absolutely never watched the channel and they just came across my Twitter messages on hashtag through Twitter search, and I'm very grateful for their participation, questions and everything else. Right, so I'm going to take a short break of 5 minutes, and after that we'll be celebrating 4 years of PUBG. PUBG is back, and we are going to be certainly looking at all the goodies that need to be collected, everything that the game has to offer, and their 4-year anniversary will be celebrated across all platforms in all sorts of ways. So we'll talk a bit about that as we get there in about 5 minutes. So stay with us, and then we'll crack on with some action in PUBG. See you all there, otherwise we'll see you all tomorrow.